Okay, guys. Okay, how do we begin? I'm going to start with just giving like a little brief overview so everyone is up to date, because I'm sure some people don't know. So, Scriptum is now called Squad 44. Originally a mod developed in Squad. Became its own studio, which was Periscope Games, which then went defunct and is now fully owned by Offworld, which also recently changed their names. And they are contracting Mercury Arts as the developers for the game. Did I get everything right there, Luna and Katz?
Yes.
Yes, that's us.
A lot of name changes have been going on.
Yes.
We'll stay Mercury Arts. We'll keep that simple.
Good. Because I'm terrible with names. People in the community know that. It's the worst thing. So how this is going to work, chat? I've got a series of questions. I'm going to go through them. I've tried to make them cover as many topics as possible, from browsing the community and looking over the Discord. At the end, feel free to put questions in chat. Don't put them in chat now because I'm not going to be reading them, honestly. There's a lot I need to read already. Save questions to the end. We'll grab them from the end and we'll try to answer as many as possible. Further else to do, Luna and Katz, do you two want to introduce yourselves quickly?
Sure. I'll go first.
Yeah, go for it. Ladies first.
Thank you. My name's Luna. I'm a community manager here at Offworld. I started back in November of 2023. Been in community and support in the gaming industry since about 2019, and this is the third studio that I've worked at, so very happy to be here.
And as for myself, so obviously known in the game as Katz, I've been around playing Postscriptum since I think 2018. So I've racked up around 2,000 and odd hours in game, playing competitively in clans, modded servers, all sorts. Absolute addict of what was once Postscriptum and is now Squad 44. And obviously went into the world of modding, having never ever done it before, and taught myself off YouTube with help from some of the other guys. Put together a team, and then all of a sudden here we are as developers 3 years later.
Awesome. Perfect. I assume everything is good with the audio, so chat seems to be giving the thumbs up. So I'm just going to dive in. We'll start with a softball, just to start things up. Luna, how many hours do you actually have in the game, and why are tankers the best players?
So collectively, because I have two accounts, I have my dev account and I have my personal account. Collectively, I have 30 hours. That is not enough. There's just that, I feel like that just scratches the surface. Before I started playing, I did a lot
Yo,
of
Nigel.
research on YouTube and Twitch because I was a little bit intimidated to just hop in, but I think I'm a little bit more confident now. I like to play medic because it makes me feel really useful. Because anytime shots happen, I just drop to the ground and that's it. I freak out. But I'm getting better. And then you asked about tankers. Why are they the best?
Yep.
Well, tanks are. I've come to learn that tanks are really freaking scary. Like, I hear a tank coming and I just start running. So, yeah, I think that's why they're the best, is because they're so scary. I also do want to try doing tank stuff. I haven't had the opportunity, but if anybody wants to show me the ropes on tanking, please reach out to me and we can hop into a game or something.
Awesome. Sounds good. So I'm going to break this down into like 3 little sections. This first section is going to be mostly about the development relations between MA and OW. So firstly, I just want to start with how do you communicate or coordinate between Offworld Industries or Offworld and Mercury Arts during the development process? Like, is there a lot of talking back and forth, or is MA kind of just left on their own to develop how they think the game suits?
Do you want me to take that, or do you want that?
Yeah, you go ahead, Katz.
I think we get quite a lot of freedom. So when this all started, it was very much emails between myself and the CEO of Offworld, and he was very open to just saying, "Hey, you guys are long-term players in the game. You know the flaws, you know the positives, you know the community. Where do you want to kind of take it?" And he's been really supportive of that. That's then kind of gone on, and as we've looked to kind of combine work strands, we've been given a very almost open remit to an extent, I guess, to really make the game our own, really. Obviously, any changes agreed with Offworld, and in anything that we kind of want to bring in. So we have a year's plan that was approved by Offworld, and then we break that down into sort of releases that we want to make throughout the year with the marketing team tied into that. So we now have a marketing plan tied into a development plan to hopefully keep pushing the game. And then as we break that down further, we have sort of like individual tickets on a project management system that our guys can pull out of. So yeah, that's pretty much how it is. If we need help, we go to Offworld and say, hey, can we get particular help here? Otherwise, they've been really supportive of just saying, hey, let's give this to the community and the players and try and push it on from there.
Awesome. Luna, do you have anything to add to that, or?
Yeah, just that we're in constant contact. Like we have regular weekly meetings. We have conversations in Slack as well as in Discord. I'm always bugging Katz all the time, being like,
Not
"Hey,
at all.
you know, I feel like I bug you a little bit too much, but yeah, we're always chatting."
Awesome. Katz mentioned there's like a year contract or something. So what do both companies envision for the future of Squad or Postscriptum? Sorry, Squad 44 Postscriptum names. God damn it! What do both companies envision for the future of the game? Is there any long-term goals, or is it just like taking a year at a time?
I think it's a combination. Like we obviously want the game's success. Like we Offworld has invested in it, and we've brought it under the Squad brand with the rename. Like obviously we're quite invested
And what's up
in
with
the
the camera,
success of it.
Kaz?
Right now, I believe the main focus is just getting the game back up and going again, and bringing in more players and reaching a bigger audience.
From the Mercury Arts side, I guess, we are effectively a business under contract. So our long-term goal is to keep getting a contract to keep pushing the game, really. But I'm a massively committed player to this game. It's the only thing I play beyond maybe Football Manager. I mean, check my Steam account, go for it. But so long-term goal and aspiration is to keep it alive. I was one of the same players as many who'll be watching this who went through the last year without any communication. So the long-term goal is to give this back to the community, to grow the game and to make sure it's got a future for us. And if we can get it to a stable base by the summer, then we can start looking at added content to really push the game on.
How many people is there at Mercury Arts working on the game currently?
Just shy of 20. There's 18 of us. So some of those are sort of subcontractors for ourselves. So like you'll have seen people like Chris Mo or McDuck Source, guys who were big in the modding community, who produce some really good maps. They've been brought on as assistant level designers working under Gunslinger. And then we've got 2 coders, loads of 3D modelers, and an animator working for us at the moment. Yeah, so we've got lots of guys of different skill sets really feeding into the team, which is great.
And what was the transition like from going from modding to now I guess a full-fledged gaming development studio? Like, are you still just in like a Discord call, or is things more professional now? Is there like suit and ties involved?
We're talking about hoodies. I don't know about suit and ties.
Don't bring up hoodies, please.
Yeah, merchandise when is definitely a call I need to engage with for Luna and OWI. So, but yeah, going from modding to development is very hard, and there's kind of a expectation change as well. It's certainly become apparent off the last patch, really. So we were quite proud of that patch in terms of the amount of stuff that we pushed out. So if you look at the change log, I think it's more than any other change that's ever happened before. And we've done that part-time in 3 weeks. So the guys have absolutely lent in and stuff like that, but we're all working full-time jobs outside of Mercury Arts. This is more a passion project that we are willing to throw our hours into. But the change in expectation, I guess the our own self-control in not burning ourselves out too early is kind of the biggest challenge at the moment, because it's getting it right and messaging to the community, like, we've got the skills to take this on, but also at the same time, we are passion players. We might get stuff wrong, we might get stuff right, we might break stuff, we might fix stuff, but at the end of the day, we are just starting out, and where we want to get to is going to be a very bright future. And we've got OWI helping us on that journey, but we are still in that kind of transition period, I guess. And it's just hoping the community, I suppose, understands that and supports us as we go through as one of their own, really.
Awesome. And sorry, I got an alert and I can't figure out where to turn it off. It's not in my OBS, so it's been real weird. So I got thrown off at the end. You mentioned like your part timers and stuff, or you're working part time on this, where you got full fledged off. Is there any expectations that MA might be brought in full time to the OW family and work internally with the devs there?
Right now, I don't have any information about that. I can't really comment on it since that's more of an executive decision. I think right now the main focus is getting the game back up and going before determining what's going to be happening in the future. But again, it's an executive decision. I have not a lot of insight there,
Fixing it,
unfortunately.
chat. Give me a second. Okay, I'm just fixing the alert for some reason.
Sure.
Wotruck's primed. It's not in OBS. It is just on a loop for no reason. So everyone blame Wotrex. It's his fault.
Let me unmute the stream so I can hear this.
It is just on loop.
I can't hear anything, so I have no idea what's occurring.
Okay, I think I fixed it. I think we're good. We good, chat? Is it all gone? Can you hear it? I can't hear it. Okay, I think it's fixed. I think we got it. We got it. We're good. Okay. Okay, but yeah, there's no plans then to bring MA in full time. Or you
Can't
can't
confirm or deny that. Yeah, anything's possible, but I don't have any info on that currently. If that changes in the future, we definitely have it announced. But yeah, not my call, unfortunately.
Okay. Katz mentioned that the recent update, which there's been a lot of hot takes about it. Let's be honest. There's been a lot of like words exchanged and a lot of views from different angles. So let's talk about like the development process for like a update or new features coming into the game. Like, can you walk us through like step by step how a development or how an update to the game is currently being handled? Let's go down.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I guess that one falls to us for MA. So there's 4 directors for Mercury Arts, and typically it's the 4 of us who set kind of the direction for the team. So we have regular meetings. I mean, we're in contact all the time, where we'll talk about potentially new features or new updates we want to bring in. Any bugs in particular we wanted fixed, like the window bug was my pet peeve last before the last patch. And we'll also open that out to wider members of the team. We'll talk through kind of the pros and cons of things, look at kind of the direction we really want to go for the future, and see where that fits into that. There's other aspects as well where you'll get certain bugs that we really want to fix. As I say, we'll come across and the coder will look into the code and go, hey, I can't fix this without changing X, Y, or Z. So then we have to look at either factoring that into the development cycle or accepting that there'll be, a recurring bug in the game, which is what we don't want. So from that point on, we use that to produce, as I say, the year plan. The year plan's pretty fluid, so we can amend it as we go, and there's some things we're adding in as well that's been agreed. And then once we've got that, it gets, as I say, broken down into tickets on Jira, and then they're allocated to individuals. The only real things on Jira at the moment are coding stuff. So all the changes you guys have seen so far has pretty much been the coder working on that along with the level designers. Our 3D modelers and animators are up to other things at the moment. But yeah, so that's kind of the development cycle where we are. We've got a plan, we're carrying it out, we break it down, and we make sure that all the concepts have been discussed as we've gone through them
And
before testing.
you mentioned code there for a second, how you're going through it and then breaking it down. Can you explain what is the state of the code for the game currently? Because I reading through the Discord the last couple of days, I feel like there's a lot of people who maybe not too sure on game development, but they very loud about how it should be done. So can you just explain how the coding is for the game and what are the challenges with that?
So I'm not a coder myself, but I know our code has been working really hard in there. So let's say previous to the last patch, one of the bugs was fobs. You could build unlimited sandbags on the fobs. When we looked into that, we thought, oh, that'll be a nice, easy change, until we then came across certain parts of the code that seemed to link logistics to spawns to all sorts of things within the game. So because it was all kind of linked together, we were in a position where if we changed one thing, it was very possible something else would break. And I think the game has suffered from that for years now, really, without being able to go into kind of the core of what's causing it. And that's sort of I think the old devs called it spaghetti, the spaghetti code. So Husky and some of the coders from OWI have worked hard in terms of trying to separate some of that out, so it's a bit more manipulatable. There we go. To fix bugs and to implement new concepts. I know there'll be people asking for all sorts in the feedback channels, but sometimes it's just not feasible with the code as it is at the moment. So we are trying to optimize how it's constructed, I guess, or laid out is I guess how the coders and blueprinters are looking at it at the moment. So
it makes sense. I can remember the last interview we had this with. I mentioned this with Snazzy as well, and he mentioned something along the same times where the code is in a bit of a mess. So essentially, you've got to break a few eggs to make an omelette, right? You need to deconstruct it and build it back up in a way.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So moving on from that, but still sticking with the development. What are some of the challenges you've encountered when it comes to the relationship with the community management side of things and feedback implementation? We touched on it there briefly. How are you navigating through all the feedback that's coming in and trying to figure out what will be good for the game going forward, what will be bad for the game going forward, things like that? Because obviously everyone wants their own thing in the game. Everyone's got their own idea of what is best. How are you, navigating through that minefield?
Well, I'll let Luna talk about sort of how the engagement goes and otherwise with the feedback and why we have it, and then I'll come on to that.
I'm going to just talk about a general sense about community management. So community management as a whole can be actually quite difficult because you have people talking, maybe sort of a loud minority talking about one particular issue, but then if you go look at game data or analytics, that could be showing a completely different story. So it's all about sort of seeing the feedback, responding to the feedback, but also trying to get the big picture and see what's actually going on here, what is actually the feedback. And a lot of the times, like personally for me, when dealing with feedback, I like feelings-based feedback. So instead of saying, you should do this, I prefer people to be like, I feel this way because of this, because then that way we can sort of break it down, work with it, and see ways that we can sort of fix things based off of that feedback. That's more actionable than saying, you should do this because I said so. You know what I mean? So it's all really about finding the big picture. The Mercury Arts guys are really good about being in the Discord. They're reading all the feedback. They're asking questions. They're in the playtest Discord as well. That's a little bit behind the scenes, but they're always working with people in there to get things fixed and talk about how certain changes feel to the player base. So they do a really good job with that.
I think coming on to sort of what feedback do we follow and otherwise. Feedback at the moment I get after the recent update has been pretty passionate. I totally get it. I'm a passionate player myself, and otherwise, but prior to this, we kind of go through it and think what's useful for the game. Obviously, we haven't patched after the last patch, which has caused passionate feedback. But if you look at things like the naming of the squads, well, that was a suggestion that was put forward that we brought into the game. Nice and easy one. Trying to think of some of the other ones that were kind of thrown in. Let me have a quick glance through some of the previous feedback.
Also, just want to say that I'm talking on general terms of approaching community management. We've been seeing the feedback and gauging that the things that are going on are not just from loud minorities. There's a lot of people experiencing different things with the recent update. So just want to clarify because I'm seeing chat about it.
Yeah.
I'm speaking on a general sense, just a general community management sense.
Yeah, as I say, we know it was a passionate thing that some players don't like it, some players do like it. It's one of the things we appreciate that some players who are used to camping bridges can't maybe do that now, and other things. So yeah, I've played the meta as well. I know it. I get it. But yeah, we do go through the feedback. We do look at things, which is kind of like it inspired us to look at certain other areas. As I say, just to name one off the top of the head is sort of like the naming of squads, things like that. That's kind of been brought in because of player feedback directly. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on chat. I'll make sure they're nice. Chat, be nice. Don't be too horrible.
I mean, we are here to openly communicate.
Exactly.
That's from the off, so we get it when people are upset about certain things, and that's fine.
Oh yeah, totally.
We can talk about it.
Totally.
Sorry, Katz, go on, finish.
Just to throw one, a lot of guys can't see what's happening behind the scenes, and we haven't been able to patch yet because we were fighting through some of the code to find out what's happening with the crashes. But the next patch will show that we are listening to the community, and we do look at compromise. We do look at areas where we can help players learn rather than a sudden change. We've realized that might be too much for some players. We can look at compromise, and that's what we're kind of looking at in the future in terms of helping players understand new systems. Things like the compass as well. We were talking before, maybe we could make it toggleable between the old and the new. Whether that's feasible, I don't know yet, but that we will look at the feedback and we will take it into account where we can. So that will be shown in the patches to come, no doubt.
And you mentioned a patch or update to come. Is there any date on when we can get that, or any news on it?
Not at the moment. I think we just found out what was causing the crashes, and have got a potential fix, but obviously we need to test and go through with that as well. So we will see where we get to in the future.
Okay. So my last question in the development section is obviously post-scriptum Squad 44. It's a very niche game. It's super niche. It has had a long-standing, let's say, commitment or development towards being authentic, realism, more than basically any other shooter, par like Armor and Squad and Milsim games. How are you trying to find a balance between keeping that authentic, hardcore realism, whatever you want to call it, while not being too, arcadey or more casual? How is it trying to find that balance between them? While making the game still fun, obviously.
I guess it just comes from the background of the team developing it. I mean, one of our guys, I think, has got 7,000 hours. So it's kind of, I think we've got the feel for the game and we understand it. So there's times where we go, no, that's a bit too arcade, or there's times where we have to kind of compromise it slightly from, like the compass is a perfect example. I'm hearing now that there's more call outs coming in from new players, which is brilliant because they've got readily accessible means of doing so. So it keeps a realism element in terms of their calling stuff out, but it makes the game slightly more accessible. The there's no plans to go down an arcade route or anything like that. There's no plans to go down an extreme realism route like the ICO or anything like that. The aim is to keep the game, the gunplay and the gameplay kind of thing, very much of the you want to shoot a weapon and feel like it hits into your shoulder within your camera shake, brilliant. But we don't want it to, you're not loading a musket, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think we've kept a happy medium in terms of the gunplay and otherwise, really as we go forward, and that's just because of our experience to date.
Okay, thank you. That's basically my questions in the development section. Moving on now, there's a few questions that relate to gameplay. So, are you okay to continue? Want to take a break, or good to keep going?
Good.
I'm good.
Okay, so we kind of touched on this already, but how important is the community feedback in shaping the direction of Squad 44? Like, already touched on it, but can you go a bit deeper into it?
I mean, for me, it's incredibly important. That's my job, is to be an advocate for the community. And also just knowing about the history of the game is the community kept the game up and running, during the time that it was, I don't know, unknown. What do we call those times? Unknown times. So it is important to take community feedback into account when making decisions. I do my best to relay everything to as many stakeholders as I can. So the Mercury Arts guys, the off-world team here, executives. I don't think all feedback can be acted upon, unfortunately. That's just how it is. But I do my best to send as much as I can over to the MA guys.
Yeah, I think as Lynn says, it's very important. The something we have to keep in mind though is that the game went a year without any form of updates, so anything we do is likely to be controversial for long-term players, and we accept that. But it's managing sort of learning curves and working with the community to find the compromise in between, and to work with them to make sure that we're getting that development in a positive direction. And I think we will be showing we're doing that. Going from a controversial patch, I guess, for the longer term players to see what comes next. So yeah.
And sticking to the same topic, kind of, how do you collect the feedback and then go forward with it? And is there any extra tools that you use to analyze? Like, are there in-game stats you use from players? Is there anything like that being used in development of the game?
Analytics are currently in development. They're not in the patch at the moment, but they will be in future patches, which will help us. I'm sure Luna will be able to talk about how looking at sales and return rates and things like that can influence thinking as well.
Yeah, personally, I don't look at sales, but I keep track of conversations in Discord. I'm looking on Reddit. I'm on the Steam forums. If I see repeating sentiments, that's what I keep an eye on. Sometimes, though, posts that have a lot of engagement don't necessarily mean a positive thing. So we need to go into and actually see what the sentiment is to actually determine the feedback. I do look into data as well. So there's Discord insights. Steam has post insights as well. And Reddit, not necessarily, but yeah, mostly that stuff. And then we also have a separate social media manager who then also has their own stats that they bring as well, so we get a bigger picture that way.
And this might not be a question that can be answered here on stream. When it comes to like Steam sales for the game, when you compare it to other games, are you seeing is the retention of players high? Do a lot of players return the game? What is the kind of acquisition of new players, and are they sticking around?
I can't really say anything to that. I think personally I don't have access to that information. That's I believe that the more admin exec side have that, but since the acquisition, the game has been doing quite well. I can just say that. So
that's good to hear. And we've kind of touched on this a little bit, and a few people have asking about it, so I'm just going to get it out of the way now because it keeps coming back and forth. My question was, are there any particular features or improvements you're planning to implement in the future updates? But then again, people keep asking something similar, which is the roadmap. So basically, is there any update on the roadmap? And with that, are there any updates that you guys are particularly excited about coming to the game?
Roadmap is coming like super soon. I'm hoping next week. I'm gonna say that, but don't hold me to it. But I'm hoping next week we can get the roadmap out. Katz, do we want to like tease anything or like drop any secrets? I don't know. Or do we want to keep the hype?
it's it's up to you. I would say maybe we've kept it a bit vague, but
Yeah.
we know what's coming. We've got a year's plan for it, and I have to say, you know, there is something I'm very, very excited to see come to the game in the future. Really excited.
Keep them hyped.
Yeah, I won't say what it is.
I'll say this because I have been talking with server hosters and stuff like that. I've currently been petitioning for better admin tools. So I'm sort of working with the community to sort of look into what sort of tools that would work best for admins and like help with running events in the future. So that's something that I'm hoping will come into the future. Yeah, maybe I'll say that. That's what I'll say.
Awesome. I might come back to that a bit later. And Katz, you're not going to give like any kind of like a hint of what you're talking about, or like just like the slightest crumb.
Let's say our animator's already been working on some cool stuff. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Very, very vague.
Very, very, very vague. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. So the last question I've got for this section, really, because we kind of covered a few things in prior questions, and then I'll pick a few from the community. With the recent update to the game, it's been clear, there's been some heated discussions going on in the Discord, obviously. Can you elaborate what the intentions were behind this most recent update and how they work towards like the goal of this game?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I did put a post in Discord before, and I can probably just really echo it now. Players are concerned the game is going to become squad rather than squad 44. I am and I'll just go through and reassure and say where this sort of fits in with the update. So I'm a long-term squad 44 player. I have very few hours in squad. I'm not a squad player. I enjoy squad 44. And that's where my head's at, kind of thing. But if players think that our development is going to be limited purely to just fixing bugs in terms of the game where it's at, that's not going to bring new players in. That's not going to help the game survive in terms of becoming sustainable going forward. So we will look at mechanics that maybe feature in other games in OWI's purview. So, I've said before, I like the flamethrowers in Beyond the Wire, for instance, or the shotguns. So, things like that. We're not going to just say, hey, we're going to be closed-minded to any other mechanics that might exist in any other game. So as such, stuff like that might come in future. But as I kind of alluded to earlier, we inherited a lot of spaghetti code, and we've needed to fix that. And to do that, we've had to make some significant changes to rework the logistics and spawn system, because that was one of the areas where the most sort of ties together were causing issues. But when we looked at it and we were reworking it, we also wanted to address some of the metas in the game. So, Yuzu, your long-term player as well, I'm sure there's plenty in chat. How many in chat right now can say they've played a game as a defender and the attackers have beat them to the next defending cap and they end up being the attackers? That was a bad game meta that needed to change. So
quite often.
we needed to change that gameplay mechanic because, Blitzkrieg did happen in 1940, but we don't want that happening in a game, because what's the point defending if you can't even get to the point before the defenders? So that was something we wanted to fix. Lots of armor players had complained previously about AT guys who would jump in a Jeep and from a vehicle tent on a fob in the middle of nowhere and would park pretty much outside their main, speed up to them and lay a charge and blow their tracks off and then camp the vehicle. That was a bad game meta that we needed to address. Similarly, playing on something like Graph, where you've got 3 crossings within 300 meters, and say the layer where the Americans were attacking down in the south, it was standardized gameplay for the Allied logistics squad to go up and block that bridge, preventing the German logistics or the German tanks getting across. That was another meta we wanted to block. So seeing all of these things, we had to think about the good of the game. Yes, it's fun for the guy who's the commando logistics squad playing behind the lines, but that's not logistics. The definition of logistics doesn't feature into commandoing across a bridge. Having the greatest tank system in gaming at the moment with the armored rework, as it is not helped by AT players running around in jeeps and sneaking up behind them. So we wanted to get the game back on a footing where the players could actually fight over points, where they actually felt they were fighting on the front line rather than simply undertaking a spawn hunting simulator or commando blocker behind the lines. So it became obviously quite controversial because long-term players are very used to the previous metas and used them. So did I. I enjoyed them. But at the end of the day, we have to think about the game itself and the gameplay loop, as well as fixing the code. And that's really where our focus has been. Is it fixed? No, it's something we want to refine. People might say, why didn't you go into testing prior to release it? Well, we did. We undertook about 7 or 8 tests, I think, Luna, something along those lines, but we never got a full server.
No.
So in order to actually get this out and check it and test it, we had to push it out to public. So, we've been taking the feedback on board. We do want to push a patch with some amends to the system, but bear with us because we've had to fix some crash issues associated with old code that's got cleaned up, and we've only just found sort of what we think is the issue behind it. So, we are listening. I promise you we are listening. We understood it was controversial, but the aim is for the good of the game itself moving forward to get this sorted. And also we will be patching based on feedback that we've had, as well as what we've seen and played in games of our own. So the community does have a voice. We do listen. You don't need to go review bomb or whatever. We will look in feedback and we will engage with those who can chat to us on the level about it. So we are from the community, we get it, but just to put on the line, that is why those changes took place, and why we won't be going back to the Zerging meta or the commando logistics. So yeah.
You mentioned testing. Is that something that's going to change how tests are done in the future? Will it become, because I don't know how tests are run at the moment. I've been out of the game for a few months, so how are they operated at the moment, the testing?
Currently, right now, we have closed testing. So every tester that we have has signed an NDA with Offworld, and we just host tests when the team has things that they need to test. Based on what I know is coming in the future, I think it would be beneficial for the team to have larger scale open tests. But obviously, there's going to have to be closed tests before that point. We don't want to be presenting something that's super half baked to a large majority of the players. We want the sort of larger play tests to, I think, be more refining on what we're working on. But it's up to change. Like we're working on updating everything and updating play testing as well. I'm most likely going to open up the applications for more play testers fairly soon, maybe towards the end of the month. So if anybody is watching and would like to participate, keep your eyes out for announcements. Yeah.
Awesome. No, appreciate that. That's basically my last question for the gameplay part. I'm going to move on now to a section what I call basically future content. We've already touched on it a little bit. And my first question was, can we expect any new theaters or new maps? Changes to existing maps? I know we've had some, but is there anything you can give us, Katz? Just something.
I like flamethrowers.
Flamethrowers.
He likes them.
I like flamethrowers. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're in Saving Private Ryan, right? They're great.
I'm just trying to think what armies actually use flamethrowers. They all did, right? Apart from the British? I don't know.
Yeah, the British had flamethrowers as well.
Flamethrower tanks? Question mark.
I like flamethrower tanks.
Cool.
I've got nothing that I can say for sure because stuff has to be technically feasible. But when you say is new content coming, well, the game will need new content in time, I'm sure, and hopefully the roadmap will provide a bit more information.
Okay. So that's that. What about factions? Come on, are there any new factions or units you have planned for the game? Like along those lines?
I like shotguns.
Shotguns.
I think
Okay.
I think I'll leave it to the roadmap for stuff like that. I'm afraid, dude.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's say a lot of the player base want, say, the Russian army. How much would like their influence help get that into the game, or are there other things you look at, like statistics, player demographics on other games, stuff like that? Like a lot of people ask like niche armies. Would we get like, I don't know, like the Dutch army over say the Russian army? Like no.
I mean, at the moment, we've got a year's plan that we're kind of trucking on with.
I'm trying.
What happens after that, I think,
Trying.
we'll keep an eye out in the feedback and see what comes. So we've got some stuff in mind in the team. The guys are quite excited about already, and I mean, as well, we had quite a lot of Italian models as well that we still have kicking around somewhere. So who knows in the future what the next faction could be, or what the one after that could be, or otherwise. So yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned the future. What is the long-term plan for Squad 44? Is there like a roadmap, like this is the year of development, after that year we review and then we go from there, or is it like a 5-year plan? How does it work from both studios? Like how are you dealing with the future of the content?
So right now we have a 1-year plan that was that we have in place. I think I don't know how the execs are going to do it, but they'll revisit maybe halfway through the year or maybe later in the year about that. But yeah, I can't really comment on that.
Okay, fair enough. What about you, Snazzy? It's Katz.
What would Snazzy Cat? Snazzy Cat. I'll just stick with what Lena said. To be honest, we've got a year's plan, so we know what's coming. That's what we are contracted to as MA. After that, will depend on the success of the game. I guess in terms of whether we get further contract to keep going or not. So yeah.
Okay. My next question. My next question was basically asking when the roadmap would be announced, but you kind of said already in the next week or the next couple of weeks. So I'll change that a little bit. So for future updates, for example, I assume they're going to be published everywhere on like the Discord and stuff. And then when it comes to like testing, you said, is testing going to be like a more frequent thing now for the community to be involved with?
I hope so. I think also just for attendance purposes to have regular testing, I think might help having regular attendance so people, know when to come in for testing. But it's also really dependent on the development schedule. So if, there's a lot of factors that go into it that can change schedules and stuff like that.
And is there a way for the community to do anything else to help the game aside from just playing it, sharing it, and doing the the engagement side of things? Like in the past, we had modding teams. Like that's where MA came from. They made a huge expansion to the game. Is there a way for the community to help in those ways, or in ways we haven't spoken about, where they can maybe make content, help get it in the game, stuff like that?
Yeah, totally. I have lots of plans to showcase the modding community as well as like different clans. So currently I'm looking into one of the things that I sort of discussed with the clans is they would like to have more advertising. So one thing that I'm looking into is some sort of like form or portal where they can sort of submit any sort of clan events that they have going on, and then I can post those to the Discord and we can have those posted on social media as well. There's a lot of stuff going behind the scenes that I need to get to that point. But I'm working on that currently, and then that way that can kind of just showcase the communities that are currently having regular events and open that up to new players. And then for modding, we're bringing back the modding spotlight. I have that ready to go. We're just sort of waiting on getting the mod SDK updated before I post about the mods. And then I'm also currently in talks with I'll just say the Shifting Sands guys. They want to do sort of like a bigger showcase. So we're looking about doing maybe possibly a Twitch stream or an event in the spring with Shifting Sands. So if there's any other modding teams that want to reach out to me and want to have some sort of event, like please reach out. My DMs are open on Discord. I'm super willing to set up events and advertise and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I got big plans. It's
That
also has to do with bandwidth as well. If I have enough bandwidth to do everything, I think I do. But yeah, I got big plans. I hope I can fulfill all of them.
Okay, you kind of jump forward to my next question there, where I was going to ask, like, are there any events planned and stuff? Stick on that. I actually had one question from TJ Hawks, who messaged me on Discord, and he was asking, is there any plans to get involved in helping the competitive side of the game come back, like sponsoring the events? He mentioned, again, I'm not too much familiar with Squad, but he's mentioned SCL, I think, in Squad, Charity League, stuff like that. Is there any plans to bring stuff into Squad 44 along those lines?
Yeah, so I did some research on that already. There was it was called the OISC, I believe, or the Off-World Industries Championship Series. I think we're going to have to change that to OCS. And they did have a larger tournament. I think they had 2 seasons of that. And I believe at the time there were sponsorship opportunities. I'm not entirely certain. So I would like to do something similar. And I would, at that point, be reaching out to the community for help with that, because we'll need to come up with a standard rule set for these events, a proper game mode scenario. This is something that I'll probably look into later in the year. And I'm hoping to, if we do have better admin tools and stuff like that, that could also help influence the future of events, like esports. I don't know, but like I'm hoping something like that could happen.
That would be hosting. I think it was season 2 or 3. The adminning of esports events was incredibly hard. I think Katz might know something as well. That was.
I was too busy winning on the first one. So.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I think we came second. But, yeah.
You're lucky I wasn't there either. Come on, man.
Yeah.
That's basically all the questions I've gone through. We kind of answered a couple of them together. So now I'm just going to look over to Twitch chat now. And Twitch chat, now is your time to throw some questions in, and we'll pick them out. If it's already a question that's been answered, I'm just going to skip over it. I'm sorry. Where can I sign up? I don't know, Cracked. I don't know what you're asking. For the testing? We plan to add a long-term, short-term. General's asking, is there any plans for long or short-range artilleries in the game? I think that's what he means.
Not at the moment. Artillery will remain a command asset, and then obviously you've got the AT guns with HE that you could use to supplement, but nothing more than that really. The maps are only 4K by 4K, so artillery-wise, it doesn't really make much more sense than it being a call-in.
Okay. Something about the section radium filter. Someone wants that fixed. Is it broken? I don't know.
Yeah, that was broken a while back. It's one we can possibly look at in the future. I think it's on one of the bug lists about that. But yeah, and it's not on immediate headline, I think.
Okay. Enderwise has a good one. So we know we had Chapter Mercury integrated into the game. Is there any plans for Shifting Sands or Chapter Red?
So with that, I mean, that's also an executive decision. I have been reached out by a few modding teams in regards to third-party content. I have followed up with our CEO, and I've put those teams in contact with the CEO. So that's all I have right now. It is a possibility for the future, but I can't really say. But we're in communication with those teams.
Awesome. I can't pronounce his name. XV asking for SKD update. I think that's the modding tool, right?
Yes, that's in the works right now. It's being handled by our central team here at Offworld, but they do work for all of our titles, so they're working on it. And I can check the status of it, but it is being worked on. I don't have a specific date, but we got it working.
Would things, so we spoke about Shifting Sands and Chapter Red, which are basically expansions to the base games. What about things like Project Reality? Would they ever get like it implemented in a way?
Do you mean PSRM?
The realism one, yeah. I forget its name.
Yeah. I'll leave that, Luna.
Yeah, I mean, if that's something, if they approach, the CEO, if they want to reach out to me and I can connect them with our CEO to discuss that, yeah. I mean, I can't say. I'm not an executive. I wish I was, but I can't really say. So if that's something they want to do, they can reach out to me and I can ask about it. So
I think that's Endel. Endel, do that. General's asking about the trailer. Let's just say, is towing coming back? Is towing ever going to come back, Katz?
Not anytime. So towing is a big issue. So if we were to bring that back, like we'd be talking most of the team dedicated to try and figuring that out. It's not an easy fix. For me, it's akin to like the armor overhaul to try and bring that thing back, and even then, we wouldn't be guaranteed that it would work perfectly. So I think at the moment our time's best spent elsewhere. So I mean, optimizing, bug fixing, and updating the graphics kind of thing for the moment, which is what we've kind of said before. So towing isn't on the horizon, I'm afraid.
Okay. Panda asks for commander assets. Any new ones coming? I think that's probably what he wants to ask.
Well, that's quite cool, actually. That's not something we've thought about, but I think I'll mention that to the chaps. That could be an interesting thing to do in the future. Because I saw some aircraft firing rockets before. I don't know who did that. I think it was Internoto, and that looked really cool and stuff like that. So maybe in the future, but it's not on the current work strand.
Okay, I think this is Eggman. I used to call him Eggman. He's asking about performance. I think
big focus. That's not so on our side at the moment. You're seeing a lot of models being updated. When the models are being updated, we're reducing the amount of materials on the models, which reduces in turn something called draw calls, which again will help your computer kind of run a bit faster. We've obviously got a lot of work to do on that. The grass that was brought in and the new snow textures should help with performance, but we're aware there's still significant issues at the moment, and also because of the new graphics settings as well, there's some issues with them that we're working through as well. But performance is definitely one thing we have in mind, and predominantly that's being driven by OWI coders as well, looking at stuff there. So it is something that we have at the forefront of our mind, along with the bug fixing as well. We're aware of the issues at the moment, and we are working on them.
Awesome. Raz actually has a good question. So we've constantly mentioned our new factions being added to the game. He's asking though, are there going to be any additions to existing factions, new weapons, new guns? Is there any plans for any of those?
Hopefully in future, yeah.
Okay. Are there any plans to change the flow of the offensive/invasion game mode from Zoid?
We are looking at potentially a new game mode in future, or making tweaks to some of the existing ones, kind of thing. I was a big proponent for hidden offensive with randomization. Whether that's feasible with the code that we've inherited, I don't know. We can look at that, and as I say, there'll be other game modes that we're considering as well. Yeah.
Okay. Grim asks, will buildable emplacements not tied to FOBs be re-implemented?
No, I don't think so. No, the issue with that is where you had previously, someone would get behind the lines, sit on a bridge, and just camp there, killing stuff coming out of an enemy's main by building an ammo crate, or by building hedgehogs and blocking choke points as well. So no, we won't be going back to that. We will have a look at the red zones, however, I believe in future, to refine those further as well, just to consider the maps a bit more with the red zones, given the new changes to the spawns.
Dylan asks, is there any plans to make mods more appealing? I know we already spoke about like the community push outreach for them, but implementation of those mods, I guess how they're connected to the servers is maybe what he's asking.
I think in the last update, Husky brought it in that you could see what servers were there. I know admin tools in the future we're looking at, but I'm not too sure how much more we can do to kind of integrate them more. It's up to the server hostess to play them really, and they should be downloadable in game. So I don't know how much more we can do there, really.
I'm hoping to, sorry, this is just not necessarily in game, but I'm hoping to, with the addition of modding spotlights and having more of those, we could have like a featured mod of the week, on social media. So that could be something that'll help sort of advertise things a little bit more. But I guess it's up to the server hosters what mods they want to run, right? So
Chat, I'm trying to keep up. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Sounds good. General asks, the armament range, are there going to be any new changes to that?
Yes.
yes.
It's a work in progress, yeah.
Is OWI planning to overhaul the vehicle physics? Getting turned on the roof in a tank by only driving on a small rock is annoying. That is kind of true. I agree. Katz, what the hell?
I guess that comes under kind of the bug fixing, which is one for the future to look at. I know AT guns have significant issues with physics, putting the towing aside. So things like that we'll be looking at in due course as we go through.
Matt asks a good question. I don't think I was actually around for this, but he says tea times with the devs, ? I assume he wants it to come back. I don't know if Luna will know what that is.
I'm not super familiar. I think I've asked about it, but was it just sort of like casual chats, or what do you?
I think it was every month Snazzy and a couple of devs would sit down on the Postscriptum Twitch stream, and they'll do like an hour stream showing what they're working on, talking things like that.
Yeah, I think one of the just general community goals here at Offworld is to have regular live streams about once a month for each of our titles. So I do want to start getting in live streams. That could definitely be a part of it, where we can have sort of, sneak peeks behind the scenes, dev Q&As, whatever content we have available. There's totally a possibility to bring that back.
Sounds
I'd quite like to do. I mean, what we're doing now is, I hope, quite useful for the community and being really transparent. What I would like to do is kind of do something like this for different content creators each patch, if possible, or where we can, just so we can be as transparent as we can. The community can come along and shout at us if they want, but we want to be open with the community, and any opportunity to do that, I'm sure our guys are welcome.
Okay. Neptune asks, are there going to be any planned changes to the commander squad? Well, I guess the commander.
Not at the moment, no.
50-50 when?
Ooh.
What's that, sorry? What was that? Sorry, I didn't get the question.
50-50 servers when?
Oh, hopefully in the future. It's one to strive towards, but we've only had this for 2 months now, so give us a bit of time.
Yeah.
The last they've had it for 5 years, so give us a little bit of time on that one.
Yeah. Tank interiors. Any chance of they're coming in the game?
I mean, in terms of sort of like mods and stuff, that's up to OWI, as Luna said. In terms of performance-wise within the game, I'm not too sure how it runs, so we'd have to consider that as well before something like that was brought in, if OWI wanted that.
Okay. I'm just trying to catch up with chat. Someone asked the effective range of the M2 flamethrower. Luna, can you answer that one?
No, I can't. I cannot answer that. Katz?
No. I'll pass on that one.
Plans for bots in the game? Jotun asks.
No, not at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think there's current plans for that currently.
No.
Panda asks, special squads with 4 STG members? I don't think that's going to happen. I hope not.
Can I go back to the M2 flamethrower and say the maximum fire range was 40 meters according to Wikipedia? So there you go.
There you go. Thank you.
But no dedicated Sturm squads.
Cool. I think without doing repeat questions, I'm slowly catching up. Read what Zoid? I have like 50 messages.
I can see there's quite a lot of questions about performance at the moment and concerns about that. We are aware, guys. We will look at it. We are still working on it. As I say, we are work in progress at the moment. This isn't the finished article. And also, if you have got a lower end system, then just make sure you turn off SSGI. That's just sort of screen space global illumination. So that can take away quite a lot of FPS because it's more for high end systems, really.
I think I might call then. I'll give chat an extra like 3 minutes because I'm being generous. Is there anything either of you want to add that I've maybe missed or want to say?
I think we have it covered.
Yeah, I think we're about there.
Chat, you got 3 minutes.
People need to stop asking about hoodies. I have no information about
that. I'm gonna bring it up with Vlad when I talk to him next. So yeah, we'll see if we can get a combined Squad 44 and Squad shop up. That would be awesome.
That would be really cool.
Yours ask why new compass?
I think we went over that before, but we want to make the game more accessible to new players. So when new players come in, a big complaint was that they didn't know where they were being shot from, and otherwise they weren't able to orientate themselves. So this helps them orientate themselves from the start. As I say, hopefully we could maybe look at a toggleable compass in future. So whether you want the old one or the new one, but again, we don't know if that's technically feasible. It's something we'd have to look at. But yeah, we understand how some of the older community don't like the newer ones, but we have to think about bringing more players into this game, keep development going.
Mad actually has a good one that we didn't touch on any at all. He says the game's got a great sound system. With the new additions of weapons, how challenging is it for the team and or former modders? Is it coming up with realistic sounds? And is there also an area you're focusing on as much as all other areas you're working at? So basically, it sounds and what's your priorities?
So in terms of sound-wise, we've got access to OWI sound libraries, which are quite extensive. They've got another game, Beyond the Wire, which has got a lot of bolt-action rifles in and things like that we can use to tweak. In terms of getting live recordings of current weapons, I don't think that's something we could do in MA. But in terms of getting more accurate sounds in future, we can discuss that with OWI. For the weapons that we may be developing in future. We said something.
Careful, Katz.
Yeah, he said something.
Okay.
He also said something else that I won't point out, but okay, we'll let people speculate.
Yeah, that's fine.
Are any of the old vehicles going to get update? It's from Barber.
Possibly in the future, but not on the current horizon.
Okay. We already spoke about factions and events. I think that's everything. It's just a lot of repeat questions at this point, or similar questions.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, we can call it a night there, I think, if you're happy. I'm just very grateful for the opportunity, really, to thank you for allowing us to kind of be open with the community and have this platform to chat to them. So yeah.
No, I appreciate both your time jumping on and allowing me to do it, of all people. I know I'm a bit stupid, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
I think you were calling me Kaz for about a year, so this is the first time I've ever heard you say Katz. So I'm grateful for that as well.
Yeah, see, I'm getting better. I can actually start pronouncing names now. It's getting crazy.
You're doing well. You're doing great. So yeah.
No, but thank you. If Twitch is happy, I'm happy. I'm sure if I didn't answer any questions, I'm sorry. You know, shout at me in DMs. I'll get around to it next time maybe, or whenever the next stream with these guys will happen. Thank you, Luna. Is there
Thank
any
you for
final
having me here.
words you'd like to say?
No, just thank you to everyone. And yeah, we're looking at your feedback. If anybody has any specific ideas for admin tools, please DM me. My DMs are open. So yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, and we'll keep cracking on. So thanks.
All right. Well, thank you guys. And Twitch chat, I'm going to wrap up stream now. So I'm going to drop out this call. I appreciate you both joining me. A great weekend. Thank you for being here. Kisses. Much love.
Thank you. Have a good weekend, guys.
Thanks.
too.
Take care,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Thanks, Twitch
Ciao.
chat.
Bye.
Bye.